First Nations had settled across Canada by 50,000 to 100,000 BC. They developed hundreds of tribes, each with its own culture, customs, legends, and character. Aboriginal people in Canada began their interaction and prolonged contact with the Europeans after they established permanent settlements in the 17th and 18th centuries. European written accounts note the friendliness on the part of First Nations, who profited in trade with Europeans. In the late 15th century, the Aboriginal population is estimated to have been between 200,000 and 2 million. However, repeated outbreaks of European infectious disease such as influenza, measles, and smallpox combined with other effects of European contact resulted in a 40 to 80% Aboriginal population decrease. Throughout Canadian history, First Nation people have been treated unfairly. They were forced to live in reserves and are under the pressure of being assimilated. Their children were sent to residential schools where they were separated from their families and abused. Following the end of the Second World War, laws concerning First Nations in Canada slowly began to change. The federal prohibition of Polluch and Sundance ceremonies ended in 1951. Provincial governments also began to accept the rights of Indigenous people to vote. Despite those changes, First Nation people were still experiencing some unfair treatment, which triggered various movements by which they addressed their rights.
The Indian Allied Tribes was founded in June 1916. Its main objective was to settle Aboriginal land claims. In most provinces, colonial authorities had eliminated the possibility of Aboriginal land claims by signing treaties, but there were no such formal agreements in BC. When a McKenna-McBride Commission on Indian Affairs recommended a reduction in the size of many reserves in BC, the Allied Tribes responded with a comprehensive land claim. However, it was rejected by the federal government. Seeing this, the Allied Tribes decided to present its case to the Privy Council in London. Finally, they found that the federal government was willing to talk with them. At a meeting, however, all activism of Aboriginal peoples were banned. A law was made legal for anyone to solicit funds for the purpose of pursuing land claims. That was the year the Allied Tribes movement ended.
The American Indian Movement is a Native American activist organization in the United States, established in 1968 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The organization mainly focuses on spirituality, leadership, and sovereignty. Russell Means, born in Ogallala, Lakota, was an early leader in 1970s protests. The original purpose of the organization was to address issues such as Indian injustice. Therefore, this movement became very high profile through the years. Russell Means became famous to Americans during the Wounded Knee takeover and has been named the most renowned Indian in America. The first activity initiated by AIM was the Alcatraz occupation, in which a group of Indians, led by Richard Oakes, took a ship from San Francisco and went out to Alcatraz Island on November 9, 1968. With them, they had a treaty written and claimed the land as Indian land. Indians of all tribes occupied the island for 19 months. Another well-known movement led by the AIM was the Plymouth Rock protest. This protest was led by Russell Means and again gained national attention. The protest took place on the Mayflower II on Thanksgiving Day in 1970.